Ladies, gentlemen, and Haradrim of all ages, with the Server Slam final beta type event happening for Diablo 4 this weekend, we all get to get our greedy little hands on the game one more time before its release, with a few changes. Yes, this is available to absolutely everyone, so if you either haven't gotten to try the game out yet yourself, or if you just find yourself in need of playing it a little bit more on top of the time you've had with it previously, you can do so without any real hoops to jump through. Just download it and prepare for the Server Slam to start up tomorrow. That said, one of my favorite things to talk about when it comes to Diablo and Diablo 4 especially right now is the classes. There are currently 5 classes in the game, each with totally unique gameplay and various mechanics that completely separate them from one another and make them feel special in their own way. I've talked about the classes a fair bit in general, but considering our last opportunity to play them before launch is coming up, I thought it would be a good opportunity to talk a bit about each class and, quite importantly, talk about the changes that each one has seen since the last public beta test last month, so that you can get a bit of a better picture of what you want to be playing this weekend. Whether it be the same class from before just to see how the changes actually feel in game, or a brand new class to see how it gels with you and see if you'd rather play that one at launch. Starting off then at the top of the list, let's talk a little bit about the Necromancer. This was by far the most popular class across the previous beta, and for damn good reasons, honestly. 1, Necromancer is awesome as a concept, and Diablo nails the concept of a Necromancer better than the vast majority of other games that try to do so. You have true control over raising corpses to be your minions, they are strong, they do well, and that is honestly just the tip of the spear when it comes to what you can do. From controlling bones as weapons to using blood to impale people and heal yourself, and of course various poison type interactions too. You have so much at your disposal to make you feel immersed in the concept of a Necromancer, and the class just performs extremely well to boot. As for the changes it received due to the previous beta, the Necromancer summons have been rebalanced a fair bit, making it so your minions will die more frequently. Those that played in the last beta will probably realize that the skeletons were rarely, if ever, dying essentially only to mass AoE effects, and so you wouldn't have to put any thought into resummoning them, and it was just sort of brain off as a way of playing. Now they will die more frequently, you'll have to use more corpses to more summons, and they did also mention that they coded them to take less damage from AoE effects specifically, so while they will die more often, they won't just get totally obliterated in an area of effect-heavy fight. As well, to balance this out, they changed some of the bonuses in the Book of the Dead, and they also lowered the damage of corpse explosion, so you are more willing to spend corpses in other interesting ways. Then let's talk about the Druid, another class concept that I really enjoy in Diablo 4. This one felt particularly weak in the beta, but as they constantly said, their focus on balancing was more around late and endgame builds rather than level 1 to 25 like we've been experiencing in the public betas. That said, they made some changes to try and fix that a bit and have it feel a bit better in these early levels, and hopefully we'll see the effect of this during the Server Slam, and hopefully it will help quite a bit. In general, the class fantasy of the Druid in this game is based around shape-shifting, transforming into a werewolf or a werebear for really cool looking animations and strong abilities, storm and earth-based magic with different effects that you can use in your more human form from range, and then also companions. After all, how can you be a Druid without a legion of animal followers running around you like some sort of Disney princess?
Spider pig does whatever a spider pig does.
As for the changes for this one then, all companion skills will deal heavily increased damage, meaning that the animal followers will be much stronger, which is definitely helpful. All of the ultimate skill options have had their cooldowns reduced. They have been usability improvements to Maul and Pulverize, which are different abilities. It's hard to know exactly what that means until we get into actually using them in the game, but I definitely appreciate improvements to the werebear side of things in general, as that is conceptually my favorite part of it. I just really like being a big bear. Then finally, using a non-shape-shifting skill will transform the Druid back into their human form, which affects legendaries more than it affects anything else. That said, Druid got nothing but buffs, and some of those buffs could be quite big. The devs saw how Druid was performing and made changes as a result, so let's see how big of a deal this actually will be in this weekend in practice. Then let's talk about the Sorcerer. This is the second most popular class from the previous beta for many understandable reasons. The class is essentially a glass cannon, even having a passive called Glass Cannon that increases all damage that you do in exchange for increasing your damage taken, and pretty much every build that I've seen takes this passive because, well, it's just hard not to. The idea of this class is that it can deal ridiculous amounts of damage of not only various elemental types, but also with various secondary effects from quite the distance away, like chill or freeze or burn, with some skill ranges actually only being limited by what you can literally see on the vision limit of your screen. This lets you kite around really effectively while putting damage down behind you that can wipe out an entire crowd in moments. That said, most of the changes to Sorcerer seem to be trying to bring their skills more in line with each other, make more varied builds actually equally viable, rather than making the class as a whole stronger or weaker. First, they increased the damage and reduced mana cost for charged bolts. They've decreased the damage of chain lightning and reduced its damage to bosses specifically. They decreased the cooldown of Incinerate's enchantment. Firewalls now spawn more frequently when using that as an enchantment, and they increased the lucky hit chance for Meteor's enchantment. The only nerf here was to chain lightning, and this appears mostly to just be to try and make way for other buff skills to fill that slot. After that, we have the Barbarian. This is another one of the classes that players felt were generally weaker during the beta, and there of course is a correlation between the two quote-unquote weakest classes and the way that they fight, being mostly melee. The thing is, being melee in this game inherently puts you in more danger. There are plenty of boss mechanics and general elite attacks that punish you for standing too close to them, and even the ones that do ranged attacks at you give you less time to dodge them because you are close to the ranged attack rather than far away. So usually games like this would make melee classes do a lot more damage to compensate for that. One of the more general changes that they've made seems to be trying to balance bosses and elites a little bit more fairly towards the melee classes, just changing their AI, the way that their moves work, stuff like that. On top of this, Barbarian also had some of its own changes too, of course. The big one at the top of the list is that Barbarian just now has 10% less damage taken as a passive part of the class, even at level 1. It's just part of being a Barbarian now. You just take less damage. They've reduced some of the numbers for passives later in the skill tree to compensate for this, but the idea for this is that at level 1, you'll be a lot stronger than you were, and less likely to just fall flat on your face. They increased the damage of Whirlwind as well, while making it cost more Fury, and I just see this as a total positive, honestly, especially as you get further into the game. Fury generation will be quite easy to do later on, so having a skill just do more damage in exchange for more resource cost is really just a good thing. Then finally, they made the double swing skill enchantment refund its full Fury cost when used on stunned or knocked down enemies, which is a much smaller change, but nice to have around nonetheless. Then finally today we have the Rogue class. This is the one with the least overall changes, but also some of the more impactful changes really. The class fantasy of the Rogue in this game is all about mixing melee daggery style fast gameplay with longer ranged bow and crossbow gameplay, working around using traps and imbuing your weapons with poisons or shadow or darkness, just flying through your enemies either yourself with a pair of daggers or with an arrow fired from your bow. This is one of the stronger classes, but it definitely took a lot more effort to get there than some of the other strong classes. So how have they changed it since the beta then? Well, they've increased the bonuses for upgrades to subterfuge skills, which in essence just means they'll all be capable of doing more damage, as each point that you put into them will be more effective at increasing their power. Multiple passive skills have had their bonuses increased as well, which will likely be a big deal, but it sort of just depends on which passive they've actually chosen. Then finally, all imbuement skills have had their cooldowns increased. This one is an undeniable nerf. Imbuement is a big part of how Rogue plays and how Rogue got as busted as it could, but hopefully the increases to subterfuge skills and to the passive skills will even out this nerf to make it around the same power level, but just less reliant on specific interactions and specific combos. And that's it, everyone. Those are the 5 classes in Diablo 4, why you should try each one of them depending on the type of class fantasy that you're looking for this weekend, and of course also all of the changes made to each class from the last time we saw them all and got our hands on them with the public beta weekends. In theory, this is how the classes will all function on launch day next month. They have no expectations of making further changes until then, so this will really show us what to expect. This will be pretty much exactly what you'll get coming out of the tin on day 1. I hope you all enjoy your time with the Server Slam event this weekend, and I look forward to seeing you all out there. Like if you like the video, subscribe and hit the notification bell for more, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, until next time, stay sweet.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.